the ballad sings. And my voice is of the streets and the cantinas and the dance halls and all the places where I am heard. For I am the soul of the common people that sings of tragedies and melancholy, but also happiness. Ahora, muchachos, adentro!
In 1965, to help dramatize the struggle of migrant workers in California's Central Valley, writer and director Luis Valdez founded El Teatro Campesino, the farm workers' theater. It became the first and most successful Chicano theater company in the country and took Luis Valdez from flatbed trucks and grape fields to high recognition in the world of theater, film, and television. His critically acclaimed 1978 play, Zoot Suit, which addresses anti-Latino racism, was the first work by a Chicano playwright to be presented on Broadway. His award-winning musical, Corridos, based on traditional Mexican folk ballads, was adapted for national television in 1987. That same year, he wrote and directed the feature film La Bamba, which became an instant box office hit. Valdez is currently at work on a television sitcom that will explore notions of cultural assimilation. Through this and other ongoing projects, he continues to promote a broad appreciation for the differences and the universalities among America's diverse cultures. Tell me, how did a child who started out picking fruit in the fields, entered college in math and physics, end up as one of California's foremost playwrights and dramatists?
It is probably the key question in any artist's life, to go through an evolution of some kind. I think that art is evolution. Certainly, my theater and my films and the stories that I tell are more about the transitions than about the points of arrival. So, though it seems as if I started out, you know, as a farm worker, and then moved on through these other stages, what's more interesting is really how I went from one stage to the other, and that's where the real story lies. It's significant, to me at any rate, and certainly to the history of my company, El Teatro Campesino, the Farm Workers Theater, that I perceived of myself as a worker when I was 6. When you're 6, you're supposed to be a child, and you're not supposed to be in the fields of any kind or working to earn your living. But I had that consciousness at 6 years old that I was doing something to help my family, and that it was required and expected of me to do that. So I saw myself suddenly as a worker in the working place.
You tell a wonderful story about the first enlightenment you had of the accessibility of the arts to a 6-year-old migrant, fruit-picking young boy.
When I was 6, which was in 1946, just after the war, my family went from being small farmers. My dad was a small farmer during World War II, to being completely disenfranchised. We lost the farm, we lost the land, and hit the migrant path. And so suddenly there we were in a cotton camp outside of a place called Corcoran, which is in the Central Valley, close to Hanford. And an immense, huge cotton camp that those places don't exist anymore. They used army tents, right? 2,000 army tents out there. It was a city, a tent city. And obviously thousands of people lived there during the picking season. And I had a little trouble settling into school, even though I was fascinated by it, because I knew that we were going to move away sooner or later, and I wasn't there long. So I was a little distracted. But the one thing that did catch my attention was one day when I was going home, and I had brought my lunch in a paper bag. Now, in 1946, there were still paper shortages, and if you didn't want to take your lunch in a C&H sugar sack, you'd better take care of your brown little paper bag. And so I took care of mine and folded it and made sure no grease spots got on it, that sort of thing. And one day, I'm heading for the bus, and I go to get my bag in the closet, and the bag is gone. And so I kind of panicked. I said, I was looking around, and the teacher saw me, and she said, what are you looking for? And I said, my bag, my paper bag. And she says, oh, I took it. And I said, well, give it back. I need it. And she says, I can't do that. Come with me. And so she took me into a little back room, a little closet. And there was my bag all torn up, floating in pieces in this basin of water. And I looked and I said, what have you done? You destroyed my bag. You know, this is my dignity. And I didn't say that. That's what I was thinking in a 6-year-old way. But right next to it, she said, now look at this. She had taken these wet pieces of paper and made a paste. And then she was placing these pieces of paper with the paste on a mold, a clay mold. It was a monkey face. And I said, what's that? And then she said, look over here. And she showed me a finished papier-mâché mask. And in an instant, I saw the connection between paper and a mask. And a whole universe opened up to me here. For one thing, paper, of course, is flat, you know, and paper is paper. But suddenly here it was round, it was soft, and it was taking the shape of a monkey mask. And then I asked, what's this monkey mask for? And she said, it's for a play. And I said, what's that? Our Christmas play. She said, we're doing Christmas in the jungle or something. And then she said, you better head for your bus. We'll talk about it on Monday. And so on Monday, I found out that there were going to be auditions. I auditioned, and I got one of the monkey roles. There were 2 monkeys in this.
First role.
My first role, you know, absolutely. And I got a costume. I got fitted out. I got these little curly-toed shoes, you know, and my costume was better than my clothes, I must admit. I was very impressed with this monkey face and this mask. The irony of this whole thing is that the week before the play was actually performed, my dad got our pickup fixed, and we moved away. And I was never in the play. But from that age of 6, I started directing kids in the neighborhood. I started directing plays. I started writing plays because I knew what a play looked like. I started writing dialogue, and I was absolutely hooked. I knew that I was going to be a playwright at 6 years old.
It just fit?
I'll tell you, I felt an emptiness that I had to fill. And for the better part now of 45 years, I have been filling that emptiness